My name is Khalil Jahshan. I'm Executive Director of Arab Center, Washington, D.C. And I would like to welcome you to this special luncheon. It's actually our first event in 2 years. So this is why it's a little smaller. Thank you. It's a little bit smaller than usual, but we have compensated quality for quantity as I look through the room, so thank you for being here. I know we've faced some difficulty the past few minutes, 30 minutes or so, with the truckers' strike or demonstrations blocking several intersections between the White House and this whole area here. So several of you came in late. I just wanted you to know why they did that. But anyway, thank you to every one of you for being here today. It's good to see all of you. We've seen you, of course, in past events, and we look forward as we begin or launch our events again, briefings and symposia and seminars and what have you. We look forward to seeing you again in these events. We have a special guest today, and that's the rationale for this luncheon. That's my good friend and friend of us all, Sami Abu Shahadeh. Sami is a Palestinian member of the Israeli Knesset, and he is accompanied by two of his staff members. Yara Mansour, if you don't mind standing up, let them welcome you too. There you go. And Taha Youssef also joined him, and both, by the way, Taha, stand. ارفع ايدك هيك بس. Okay, لأنه طويل, it's okay. Both, I learned today that both of them actually are a product of, or beneficiaries of a project that I'm very proud of, and some of you know that I've been involved in for many years, and that's the Galilee Foundation, where we, based in London, and I'm on the board, where we sponsor hundreds of students, Palestinian students in Israel. We pay their tuition. We do about 200 to 300 a year. So it's a multi-million-dollar project that works very well. And just for the information of those of you in the room, I just recently, about a month ago, incorporated Galilee Foundation USA, GFUSA. We already have raised a couple of $100,000 for additional scholarships from very generous members of our community, friends you might know. And we're delighted to be a part of that. We will also be doing similar things, tax-exempt donation to further education. The best thing we can do to equip our young people, as Sami would tell you, is educating them and make sure they do not leave the country to get their education, make sure they stay there, and make sure after they get their education, they become the leaders of our community. They are our future, the future of Palestine, both inside and in the 48 areas and in the West Bank. And we are embarking also a little bit beyond the Galilee. We're doing it nationally now, and we're beginning to do it in Jerusalem too. So we will be spreading also to the West Bank soon. So I just wanted you to know about that. At any rate, Sami is here for just one day. He arrived here last night, late last night. So we kept him busy. He was in New York and New Jersey. And I would like to also introduce two special guests, two friends from many, many years ago in the community. I hate to kind of reveal our age by saying many, many, many years, but it is, let's face it, all that white hair did not come just yesterday. And my friend Dean Dabbah and my friend Maher, who basically hosted and escorted our guests to town from New York. Maher did work on some meetings, great meetings for them in New York and New Jersey and at the UN yesterday, very fruitful meetings. It is Sami. Okay. And Sami is, this is his first visit to the US, so it's baptism by fire. He is going to be touring several cities, actually. He's heading to North Carolina tomorrow and morning, and then visiting some other cities in the Midwest and Far West, and back to the New England, the Northeast again, ending his tour back in Boston. And thank you both for your sponsorship of his visit here and for letting us share in that. Let me say the following before we give the microphone to Sami. First, I would like to introduce Abu Shahadeh, if you don't mind standing up. Please welcome him. He's a member of the community in the Chicago area, has been very active in politics, national and local, and he's running for Congress. So we're delighted to see him here today. And wish him well. And if you could help, please look him up and help with the campaign as much as you could. Sami Abu Shahadeh is, as I said, a Palestinian citizen of Israel. He's currently a member of the 24th Knesset since 1948. This is the 24th session, where he has been representing the joint list. Some of you are familiar with that coalition of activists and parties. The joint list plays a key role in Arab-Israeli politics. He has been its chairman for the past couple of years. He has been involved in politics for longer than that, going back to 2013, when he was started as an activist in Jaffa, worked with the Jaffa faction, it's called, as a member of the Tel Aviv Jaffa City Council for several years, fighting for equality for Palestinians in Israel. Sami was born in 1975 in Lud, and was raised in Jaffa. He attended my alma mater, the same high school, not the same one, but the same name, Terra Sancta High School. It graduated some of the best people, Sami, what can I tell you? And sorry, I'm just kidding. And it's a Catholic school found in Old Jaffa. I went to the one in Nazareth, as some of you know. And he still lives in Jaffa with his wife and two children. His wife is an education consultant working on educational issue. Sami is a historian by training and holds a bachelor's and master's degrees in history and political science from Tel Aviv University. Sami is fluent. Some of you have seen him on TV, particularly when there is coverage of Israeli chaotic Knesset debates. He's very fluent in Arabic, in Hebrew, and in English. And frankly, I love to see him debate in Hebrew because he's very fluent in Hebrew, and he is calm and collected. So to see him debating Israeli legislators in the heart of the Knesset with the most kind of disciplined Palestinian arguments you can ever hear, he drives them nuts. And that's why Sami is my favorite, and that's why I'm proud to introduce him to you today. Please welcome Sami Abu Shahadeh.
Thank you, Khalil, for hosting us and for the very important program that we have today here in Washington. We really appreciate it. Dean, my friend, is the one who's responsible for me being here. This is the first time I'm in the States, so thank you very much, Dean, for all the work. And also, Maher, thank you all. I would like, it's very hard to have in a few minutes talk about Palestinian issues or big issues in general, surely not on surely on the Palestinian issue. And also we have this saying that La yufta wa malik fil Madina. We have a few Maliks here that probably know much more than I do on a lot of the things I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to concentrate my talk a little bit about my experience as a member of the Knesset with what is called the new the change government in Israel. Few remarks on that, and then I'll try to keep most of the time for Q&A and remarks, whatever you like to. I was elected for the Knesset in September 2019. There were 2 crazy years in Israel of instability. And for 1 year we were in elections, 4 different elections. And after 12 years of Benjamin Netanyahu, like was the title they gave him in the Times, Bibi King, he was considered the king of Israel. It's called a new government of change, change government. They wanted to give it a good name in order to say that something is changing. Well, we really don't see it like this. We really don't see that in the government of change there is any change. Maybe if there is a change, there is more a change towards fascism. And this is what was happening in Israel in the last 2 decades. Okay, this is not new. There was a very famous project for the settlers led by Gushi Munim since second half of the 1980s, trying to control the important decision-making points of everything in Israel. And after 4 decades, now they are controlling everything. Now they have a prime minister. Bennett did not come to have all this support that I don't know why he's taking it. He did not come from human rights activists. The man came, he was the head of the settlers. Same as his ministers. The most important minister is Shaked. You know, in the elections of 2019, Shaked, in her advertisement for the elections, she had a very interesting di'ayah. How do you say di'ayah in English? Advertisement. Okay? Yeah. So she was as if a famous model promoting a new fragrance. Seriously, okay? This is not a joke. This is a serious advertisement at that time. A model promoting a fragrance, and she was saying, fascism, fascism, fascism. For me, it smells like a democracy. And this was the advertisement. And she was serious about that. Now, this is the interior minister in Israel. For her, fascism smells like democracy. She doesn't see the differences. And this is not the only minister who thinks like this in Israel. The whole political system in the last 2 decades deteriorated, and these kind of people are controlling everything. The last law, we left the Knesset a few days ago, ending the winter period. And the last law they passed, they call it the Citizenship and Entry to Israel law, which exactly wants to do the opposite of the name of the law. It wants to prevent citizenship, mainly from Palestinian citizens, and to prevent entry for Palestinians to Israel. Now, the law says like this: you cannot choose to marry the one that you love if you are a Palestinian. The state is going to prevent you from marrying someone from Ramallah because she was born for the wrong race. Now, they don't say it like this, but this is the logic. Any Jew in Israel has the right to get married, like it's not in Israel, anywhere in the world. There are no similar laws in the world like this. Okay? The state wants to decide to the citizen with whom to get married. It's not that they involve in everything in your life, including your love story. And they want to tell you that if you are a Palestinian, you love your cousin from Al-Quds, Ramallah, Jenin, Nablus, you are not allowed to get married. If you do so, you will have no papers. This means all the basic rights, you will not have them. She will not become a citizen, or he will not become a citizen. And then all the basic rights. They can't drive. You can have a driving license, but you are not allowed to drive. We have cases in our office of people from Al-Quds, Palestinian family from Al-Quds. They had Israeli, they are residents, not citizens. Okay, there are different kinds of citizenship in the Jewish state. There is one for the Jews. This is a good citizenship. This is an A citizenship. And then you have different kinds for those who are less than the Jews, who are us. Okay, so you have a different kind of citizenship for the Palestinians who are living inside the Green Line, another thing for Gaza, another thing for the West, and another thing for the people living in Jerusalem. Different kinds of citizenship. Now, the family I'm telling you about, they were born in Jerusalem. They have a Jerusalemite idea and everything. The parents did not have job opportunities. They went to work abroad in the States, here. 2 of their children were born here in America. They have brothers before them. The brothers have their residence IDs. Their brothers don't. Now, the twin brothers continued their studies. They are doctors now. But they can't work in Israel as doctors because they don't have ideas. Their parents do, their brothers do, but they can't. Now, this is one of our challenges. The issue, there is 120 members in the Israeli Knesset. On this racist law, there was a consensus. 104 agrees on this law. The others are 10 Arabs, okay, and 6 from Meretz party that in last July voted and agreed on the law. So in the most basic right for any citizen in any state, the citizenship law, okay, you have a very serious racist problem. But we have these challenges on the daily level because the majority, there is no really civil rights society inside the state of Israel. Israel is a very strange state. Usually states in the world are big states that have small armies defending their borders. And there is differences between the civil society and the military. Israel is the opposite case. It's a big army that have a very small state. And the army controls everything, including the political discourse. So there is no serious political civil discourse in Israel. And because of the Jewish harsh experience with anti-Semitism, unfortunately, what anyone would expect, that these people will be very serious in struggling against racism, they developed a racist society. And they see their racism as a legitimate thing in their political discourse, because what they do usually, when they have in mind, when we are talking about human rights issues, for them human rights issues means Jewish human rights issues. The others deserve less. And they feel very proud of their racism because compared to the Nazis, they are very good. They are right about this, by the way. But this is how they measure things. So you don't have also, from the Jewish majority, serious numbers of people that can support our struggle for justice and equality. I am considered the most extreme in the Israeli parliament. Why? Because my political agenda is to change Israel into a normal democracy. We are considered extreme because we are struggling for equality. And this is not just my political analysis. Our founder of the BALAD party, Dr. Sami Abu Shahadeh, in the mid-1990s, we started our party. In 1999, they are started. Every election, they try to ban us from going to the elections. So in one of the discussions in the high courts, the judge asks the state attorney, "Lady, why do you want to prevent the BALAD party people from going to the elections?" So she said like this, "Your Highness, they are struggling for full equality." Now the judge was shocked. He tell her, lady, you know that you are presenting the state here? What do you mean that this is not a good excuse why to ban them? Look for something else. Then she was saying, they support terror and so on. But the first thing that you said, that we struggle for full equality. In a system that do not allow us for full equality, this affects our lives in everything. In Israel, racism and discrimination does not need a good speaker. You just drive your car, you see everything alone. First of all, 90% of the population inside Israel lives on racial separation. One of our problems to explain this to Western societies is that the West usually, when they talk about racism, they can see the Jews only as ultimate victims of racism. But they can't imagine them as victimizers. But in Israel, you don't need too much explanation. You just drive your car from one place to another. You would see alone whenever you are passing from a Jewish area to an Arab area with no explanation. You see it with your eyes. Gaps and discrimination is in everything that you see. First of all, 90% lives on racial separation, Arabs alone and Jews alone. The 10% that are living together was not by choice. This was a result of the Nakba of 1948 in the classical important Palestinian cities where Israel was built on the ruins of these cities, Yafa, Haifa, Al-Lidd, Ramla, Akka. They also added Jewish community there. This is how it became mixed. 10% of the population are mixed. Wherever you compare a Jewish area with the Arab area beside it, the numbers are unbelievable. In everything. Same inside what is called the mixed cities. In a city in Lod, for example, where I was raised, it's a central city, it has the airport, considered important, the most important railway station. There are 3 Arab neighborhoods that have thousands of people that do not have the basic services of infrastructure, electricity, and water. Nowadays, Israel, 2022. And then they get angry when someone tells them that this is apartheid. It can't be different. Any definition of apartheid that you choose, Israel sits great in this definition. With all the problems of defining apartheid and the differences, but Israel is a good answer for all the definitions of apartheid. Each one you pick, okay, they will be good there. In Lot, for example, I'll give you an example. Same city, run by Jews since the Nakba of 1948. Same municipality. There is an old neighborhood before the establishment of the State of Israel where Shaban family lives. This neighborhood, according to the master plan in the city of Lod, do not exist on the map. Okay, there are thousands of people living there, no basic services. You pass Shaban family, there's a new neighborhood built in the 1990s by Sharon at that time with his friend Dudi Eppel for the Jews. It's called Ganei Aviv. Ganei Aviv has all the services you can imagine. And then, this is one street, okay? Less than 1 kilometer street. Starts with the Shaban family. They don't exist on the map. Then you have the Jewish neighborhood of Ganei Aviv. All the services, including infrastructure, everything. Then, after it, there's another Arab neighborhood. It's called Jahshan Nir. The street ends with Ganei Aviv. You can't get, unless you have a good jeep, you can't go into the neighborhood. There is no street. Now, our problem is that it looks totally normal for the majority. This racist situation looks totally normal. And they keep on blaming the victims all the time. They have their own explanations why they are allowed to be racist. I want to finish my talk with telling you how did we pass the last May events? What did we feel? I was, of course, with the people demonstrating against all the racist policies in Sheikh Jarrah, Al-Quds, Dafir. We have a lot of reasons why to demonstrate. Now, a small minority in a very militarized society, we go up to demonstrate, the state kills you. We had 2 shaheeds. موسى حسونة من اللد ومحاميد من ام الفحم. Kiwan, they call him. Muhammad Kiwan, but Kiwan Mohammed. Muhammad Kiwan, 19 years old, was killed in the back of the car, few hundred meters far from the demonstration. We don't know how. Okay? But they know that Israeli police killed him. Nobody is investigated. Nobody is asked about it. Okay? Musa Hassouna was killed by his neighbor, a settler. There's a project for the settlers in what is called the mixed cities. Okay, they have a project in all the mixed cities. Not just we were killed in the demonstration, there were huge amount of violence in all the demonstrations. Sheikh Jarrah, Lid, Ramli, Hif, everywhere. The settlers were not satisfied with the state violence. They were organized through social media by buses to come and attack Arabs in the mixed cities, declaring from the beginning that they are going to attack people. They passed the checkpoints, nobody asked them questions. And then part of the Jewish majority joined the settlers in attacking the Arabs. Dr. Khalil mentioned the Israeli media. When I was going for any interview, it was like a Shabak investigation. They never ask you, what do you think? They start accusing you from the beginning. So the Israeli media was part of the attack. The police system was unbelievable. Same with the court system. Small minority in a very militarized society being attacked by the state, then by the settlers, then by your neighbors. You know, our houses in the mixed cities were marked by our neighbors in order to tell. Mixed cities, you have Arabs and Jews living in the same place. Okay, this is a small minority case. So we are living in the same buildings sometimes. So in Jaffa, in my city now, people went with the red spray and marked the Arab houses for the settlers coming from the West Bank in order to help them to know from the beginning who is Arab and who is not Arab. Nobody was held responsible for all this. In the Naqab, you know, the Palestinians in Israel are 20% nowadays of the population, 1.7 million people. All the time there is problems on the numbers. If you have other numbers, you are right. Okay, we're not going to argue on the numbers. This is all the time we fight on the numbers. 1.7 million because we don't count the Palestinians of Jerusalem as part of this group. We have 3% of the land. And all the time, this 3%, all the national project passes through them. So if Israel wants to do an important gas line, it passes in the 3% that we own. If it's a big electricity something, it passes in the 3%. Water supplies passes in the 3%. Any big national project, you don't know how. They have 97%. All the nations do not pass in this 97. So all the time, now we are doing this talks commemorating Yom al-Ard, 30 of March 1976, where 6 Palestinian citizens were killed in demonstrations for land issues. We are continuing the struggle. The land issues have been the most important source for the conflict since then. I will stop here because politicians tell you in the beginning all the time they don't want to talk too much, and then this is exactly what they do. So let's do questions, whatever you like, and it's better. Thank you. Thank you for Tfaddal.